Win News.
Tonight, the weed which threatens to devastate the Bega River. Illawarra Rugby League referees speak out about poor player and crowd behaviour. And calls for CCTV cameras to be installed at the Berkeley skate park. Good evening, I'm Melissa Russell.
I'm Jeff Phillips. Also tonight, 2 dogs handed over to Shellharbour City Council Rangers.
And university researchers work on a breakthrough cancer treatment.
First tonight, 4 children and 2 adults have been rushed to hospital after a head-on car crash on the Princess Highway. The 2 cars collided just before 2:30 near Beewong. Details surrounding the crash are still unclear. 3 patients were taken to Shoalhaven Hospital in a stable condition. The other 3 patients were airlifted to Sydney in a serious but stable condition. There were long traffic delays after the Princess Highway was closed in both directions. There are fears an exotic weed found in a lagoon in Bega could spread to the region's rivers and choke waterways. The infestation was discovered by council workers during a regeneration project. Council is now fighting to contain the outbreak.
Overgrown and uncared for. This was Kiss's Lagoon in Bega a year ago, and this is it now, thanks to a $150,000 regeneration project.
Kiss's Lagoon sits at the gateway of Bega. It's also known as the entry to town. So we want to encourage people to come down here and use the area as much as possible.
But now, an unlikely pest is threatening to ruin everything. It's called Salvinia molestor, a floating weed from Brazil. It's believed it took hold after someone tipped out a fish tank into the lagoon.
This is it. It's a floating weed, able to triple its size in a week, and it chokes out the river systems and water systems and prevents flow. Also deoxygenates the water as well.
Council is using sprays and booms to try and contain it, but with the weed feeding off the lagoon's high nitrogen levels, that's proving difficult. This is the furthest south the weed has ever been discovered in New South Wales. And that's why it's so important that the infestation is dealt with here in Kiss's Lagoon. This runs into the Bega River, and a heavy downpour could see the weed end up further south.
It would come out and also displace a lot of areas where cattle can get in, a lot of native birds and wildlife. Once it thickens up to its secondary stage, it can drown ducks.
The public is asked to report any known cases to council, and with the region's lifeblood on the line, it couldn't be more important. Rob Morrison, Win News.
A 29-year-old man has been charged with possessing child abuse material after a woman found his phone in her car. Police attended a hillside drive home in Albion Park after the woman handed the phone into Lake Illawarra Police. The man was taken to the station and charged with possessed child abuse material. He was granted conditional bail and will appear in Albion Park local court on April 29.
Shellharbour City Council says 2 dogs believed to have attacked another dog on the weekend in Barrack Heights have been seized by rangers. The dogs latched onto this bull terrier's leg while it was being walked along Cassia Street by its owner on Sunday. Neighbours claim they were the same animals responsible for an attack on an elderly woman and her pet in January. The owners surrendered their dogs last night. The dogs are being assessed to decide whether they can return into the community.
The National Rugby League is continuing its investigations into Good Friday's controversial fixture between the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Canterbury Bulldogs, in a match which saw referees verbally abused on and off the field. There are now question marks around the willingness of officials at a local level.
It was an ugly incident which resulted in 3 players facing contrary conduct dissent charges and 1 referee taken to hospital after a handful of fans reacted violently post-game. But it's the filter reaction through to grassroots rugby league and refereeing that could be dealt the biggest blow.
Our concern is there that this type of incident that happens on Friday night could affect parents, and they may now be disencouraged to allow their young sons or daughters to take up refereeing.
Children can now take up refereeing at the age of 14. And it was only last year that some competitions put in place new positive steps to combat on and off-field issues.
And they now have team liaison officers at every ground. So every team has to nominate a person that's responsible for their own players and spectators. And of course every ground has a ground manager that is there to control the whole arena.
Former NRL referee Luke Potter knows exactly what it's like coming through the ranks as a junior.
Yeah, when I was coming through as a young kid here in the Illawarra refereeing, that
There were times when I thought, I don't know that I want to continue with this, just for that fact. But I guess the big goal for me at the end was that I did want to put to the NRL.
Now in charge of helping develop the next breed of whistleblowers, Potter has plenty of advice to pass on.
I guess it's just having that time and space with you and the players to settle things down, calm the situation and be able to deliver your message as clear as you can to the players.
Tim Robinson, Win News.
A group of Illawarra residents is banding together to help clean up shorelines after rubbish was found scattered across a number of areas over the long weekend. They've taken their plans online, encouraging others to get on board and encourage locals to clean up their neighbourhoods.
20 bags of filthy rubbish, which just hours earlier was scattered along the shore of the Port Kembla Harbour.
Just couldn't believe the amount of rubbish that was lying around. People standing in amongst the rubbish trying to fish and stuff like that, so it was a little bit disappointing, yeah.
The Miller family spent several hours this morning cleaning up piece by piece.
Cigarette packets mainly, and just alcohol bottles and cans and all that sort of rubbish.
Sadly, it's not an isolated incident.
I was at Bass Point earlier in the afternoon in a similar situation. There was rubbish out there, and on the Facebook page that I'm associated with, people, wherever they were fishing, there was rubbish around.
Dion has taken his message on the Real Fishing Illawarra Facebook page, with other fishers jumping on board. Now the group is planning to organise rubbish cleanups every weekend.
It'd be real disappointing if Port closed the gates on us and we can't get in here and bring our kids and enjoy a little bit of fishing when we can. So yeah, just pick up after yourself and take it home.
It's been 6 weeks since the skate park at Holborn Park in Berkeley was opened for little skaters to run wild. The park remains graffiti-free and there has only been one incident reported to police. A Wollongong City councillor claims CCTV cameras are needed to deter bad behaviour.
It's school holiday time and it's clear for the kids in Berkeley there's only one cool place to be. Skaters of all ages are enjoying the park and it's proving to be a popular place for parents too.
Great to see so many kids outdoors instead of playing video games.
A fight at the park a few weeks ago was reported to police, but since then it's been smooth skating. One councillor believes it's not the only incident to happen at the park.
I don't think anything that serious is happening, but there have been allegations that there's been some altercations between young people. The last thing I want is for this space to be used for anything other than skating and for families.
His solution is to put CCTV cameras around the park to deter bad behaviour.
Maybe at night time, but in the daytime it's pretty good, it's pretty safe. There's always parents around.
Keep all the hoons down, I suppose.
The Mayor says there is no need to put cameras where there is no evidence of antisocial behaviour.
I can't think of any instances why you would want to put CCTV there, but I can think of other places in the city.
While the topic of CCTV cameras keeps the adults preoccupied, these kids have their own suggestions to make the park a better place.
Lights.
Tell me why you need lights.
So people can skate here at dark.
People can get hurt at night because it's dark, can't see anything.
After the kids bombarded Bede with their request, he says he'll add it to his motion to request costing for CCTV cameras at the next council meeting. MYLEE, HOGAN, Win News.
Still to come on Win News, how the Wollongong whales looked back in the 1960s.
An artist captured the magic of life on the land at the Easter show. Welcome back. You're watching Win News. The Reserve Bank has kept interest rates on hold for a second consecutive month. The official cash rate stands at 2.25%, with many economists tipping another rate cut in the not too distant future. Wollongong entertainment icon and former member of the Four Kingsmen, Graham Wilson, has undergone surgery after doctors discovered he had a brain tumour. Renowned surgeon Dr. Charlie Teo operated on Mr. Wilson on Saturday to remove the golf ball-sized growth. He was released the next day but returned to Sydney this morning for more tests. By all accounts throughout the entire ordeal, Mr. Wilson hasn't lost his wicked sense of humour and has become a ward favourite amongst the nurses.
The way radiation is delivered to cancer patients could soon be revolutionised. A University of Wollongong researcher has received a federal government grant for more than $300,000, which could potentially reduce the number of times patients have to visit the hospital.
Professor Anatoly Rosenfeld is the director of the Centre of Medical Radiation and Physics, leading an international team to potentially change the face of cancer treatment.
Detector which can measure in real time, and this detector which will help children to survive, because this technology actually mostly will be applicable for brain tumour for children.
At the moment, the detectors that we have don't mimic tissue at all of these energies, and in particular at energies which are used for microbeam radiation therapy, which is the key area that we want to use this detector for.
This microchip is at the centre of the research.
It's not like usual radiation therapy where we're using 1 centimetre, 2 centimetre, 3 centimetre beams. It's a micron beam. So you need absolutely different level of equipment for quality assurance, absolutely different approach. And this approach was delivered here.
If successful, it will also mean patients won't need as many treatments of radiation.
Instead of receiving many fractions of small dose, we're exploiting the difference between the normal tissue and the tumour tissue, and so they will treat just with one fraction, so a single fraction, they'll receive the whole dose.
It's a multidisciplinary approach.
I'm responsible for the simulation, so we use physics models and we use computers to study theoretically which is the behaviour of the detector that we develop.
Clinical testing has begun on animals in France using the technology, with human trials potentially just years away.
If the spontaneous tumour trials are successful, then we're looking probably at 5 years, I would say.
Wollongong's Botanic Gardens has transformed into a mini obstacle course for little children to play soldier for the day. The school holiday activities at the gardens are Anzac themed. Children made victory gardens to learn about sustainability and postcards to send to active soldiers.
So making cards like the troops did, or like the children did during the war that they sent to the troops, they're making those, and we're hoping to send those back to the War Memorial and then hopefully on to Vanuatu where the present troops are.
The school holiday activities continue until April 10.
As anyone who's been to the Royal Easter Show knows, the biggest challenge is fitting everything in. As we charge between the rides, show bags and live shows, every now and then we need to slow down. The often overlooked regional art exhibition could be the perfect place to do just that.
A bushfire charges over a ridge before laying claim to a valley below, while a pair of drovers try to navigate a narrow pass. There are hundreds of paintings at this year's Royal Easter Show, but for Peter Klarner, this is the one that stopped him in his tracks. A light horseman standing tall, the iconic emu plume is on the left of his hat, just as it is on Peter's.
Makes me feel proud, mate. Yeah. So when I come to Sydney and I do escort for the Governor or Governor-General, it makes me even prouder.
These are the moments the show's regional art exhibit is chasing. For many, it's a rare chance for rural people to tell rural stories to the city.
If you look deeper, you see those little essences of rural life that you don't capture in the city. Sometimes not always blatantly obvious, but yeah, they're there if you look at it hard enough.
Details make a picture, but in art it's still each to their own, and everyone has an opinion.
Oh, they're just weird, like that one there. And
the fascinating thing about Australia is you can go from one side to the other and we're all very similar. So we have to tell the whole story, not just the sea or the desert or the outback.
But if you go to the show and you're taken somewhere else, then this year's exhibit has succeeded.
I'd like to be there. I'd like to be that bloke 100 odd years ago. Today, technology, yeah, it's fine, but let's get back to the basics. And that's what that's all about.
Rob Morrison, Win News.
Sport is next with Amy, and South Coast United remains unbeaten in the Illawarra Premier League.
It does, Jeffrey, grinding out a tough win in wet conditions against Wollongong Olympic. Also a Bawley Point big wave surfer in the running for a famous World Surf League award. In sport, Emma McKeon has secured her second gold medal at the Australian Swimming Championships with an impressive win in the 200 metres freestyle. McKeon blitzed her opponents as she booked another swim at the World Championships in Russia later this year, finishing the race with the second fastest time swum in the world this year.
I'm not really that happy with the time, but I wasn't really feeling great yesterday, so I'm happy to come away with that time after feeling a bit off yesterday.
The 20-year-old will be hoping to make it 3 national titles at the Sydney meet in the 100 metres freestyle. The Illawarra Premier League has fought through a wet Easter long weekend to complete all but one of its round 2 matches. In a postponed battle, South Coast United remains undefeated to start the season with a 2-1 victory over Wollongong Olympic.
With South Coast United 1-0 up early, it was set to be a wild afternoon at PCYC. As the dedicated fans headed for cover, South Coast opened up a 2-goal buffer. Slippery conditions made it tough, but both goalkeepers were impressive as they pulled off some remarkable saves. South Coast United couldn't fool the referee as it searched for its 3rd goal. While Olympic's quest for a comeback was tainted with a late red card. The home side did manage to get on the score sheet and tempers boiled over as a quick restart was delayed by Jason Bleakley. South Coast United holding on for a hard-fought 2-1 victory. In other round 2 games, Bulletin and the Fury also had 2-1 wins, while Albion Park and Port Kembla got the points in their matches. Cringilla and Tarrawanna will play their game on Thursday night after being washed out. Meanwhile, the South Coast Wolves remain winless in the New South Wales Premier League after being humiliated by Sydney United 5-1. Tim Robinson, Win News.
Mossvale cyclist Caleb Ewan has broken through for his first professional European victory. Riding for Orica Green Edge in a one-day race in Spain, Ewan was set up nicely by his teammates who took control at the front of the bunch with 30 kilometres to go. The sprint finish handed the 20-year-old victories on 3 continents in 2015, having already won in Australia and Asia. Borley Point's Scott Dennis has been named as one of 6 finalists for the famed Wipeout of the Year at the World Surf League's Big Wave Awards. An extreme wipeout at a remote Australian destination in August now sees Dennis in the running for the prestigious award that also carries a $2,000 first prize. Award winners will be announced at a gala awards show in California in America on May the 1st. South Coast archers were among more than 500 competitors to descend on Wagga for the Australian Bowhunter Association's National Safari. It gave the archers a chance to familiarise themselves with the venue before the city hosts next year's World Field Archery Championships.
Eyes were on the target as hundreds of competitors from across Australia put themselves to the test with their bows and arrows at the National Safari.
Well, the competition is one we hold every Easter right around Australia. This year consists of 2 days of ABA, which is our national round, and 2 days of 3D, which is 3-dimensional targets.
Veteran South Coast archer Tony Robert is no stranger to the 4-day competition and relished the chance to tackle the Wagga terrain.
It's great, actually, different country altogether. They set up an excellent course here, actually, with all the ridges and ups and downs. Quite different country to Batemans Bay.
Star Victorian archer SHAUN Pratt has claimed 1 world and 7 national titles, and he created even more history over the weekend by becoming the first person to achieve a perfect score on the course.
It's a difficult course, difficult ranges. To be able to walk around and just shoot a 400, whether I'm the first or not, is not an easy thing to do. So yeah, I was absolutely wrapped with how I shot it.
For accomplished archers like Pratt, there was more than just silverware at stake. The competition, an ideal opportunity to scope out the unique course ahead of Worlds next year.
I've never shot here before. I wanted to come and get a look at the courses, see what the layout is, see how much you get affected by wind, how steep the ranges are. Just try and figure everything out from there.
Corey Hammond, Win News.
And that's Tuesday Sport, Jeff.
Amy, thank you. The weather details are next. Then from our archives, a look at the early days of the Wollongong Wales Winter Swimming Club. A mixed day weather-wise, which included afternoon thunderstorms and high wind warnings. On the satellite tonight, thick cloud over southern and central New South Wales with a developing low is triggering areas of heavy rain and storms. Skies are clearer in the north under a high pressure ridge. To the synoptic chart, a complex low is producing showers and thunderstorms over New South Wales. A moist southerly flow steered by this low is generating gusty cool showers over parts of Victoria. Temperature-wise today, Wollongong to 21 degrees, Bowral reached 17, Nowra peaked at 22, Ulladulla reached 21, as did Batemans Bay, Maruya and Narooma recorded 20, Bega 23, Merimbula 22 and Eden 13 degrees overnight. The forecast for the Illawarra and the Highlands, a cloudy day with an 80% chance of showers, most likely in the morning. Winds will be westerly. For the South Coast, a cloudy Wednesday with a 90% chance of showers, most likely in the morning, and heavy falls possible in the south with southwesterly winds. Seas are pounding in, running at 4 to 6 metres on a 3 to 5 metre swell. First tide tomorrow is low at 4:40, the high rolls in at 20 to 11. Eden looking at 17 degrees tomorrow, Merimbula expecting 16, the same for Bega, Narooma 18, Marie Heads 18, the same for Batemans Bay, Ulladulla 19, 18 in Nowra, Bowral 16, Wollongong 13 to 20. Further ahead, rain clearing for a partly cloudy Thursday, similar conditions Friday and Saturday.
The Wollongong Whales kick off their new season this Sunday morning. Swimmers braved the icy conditions through winter, raising money for the Children's Ward at Wollongong Hospital in the process. And they've been doing it for decades, as this story from 1969 shows.
Oh, dear oh me. Well, there's a bunch of fellas that do this every morning at North Wollongong Beach, and they can do it a lot better than me too. They're known as the Wollongong Whales, and we've met a few of them this morning at North Wollongong Beach. Here at the site of the Continental Baths in Wollongong, Jack Comerford. Morning, Jack.
Good morning.
Well, what about this morning, eh? How long have you been doing this swimming in the early morning?
Just over 12 years.
And what makes you swim early in the morning rather than the middle of the day, even in winter time?
Well, in the first place I go to work.
Yeah.
And the second place, well, it's a good start for the day.
How long have you been swimming here?
Oh, about 5 years.
Oh, that is newcoming, more or less a newcomer. Yeah.
Yes, well, let's consider that in the pub.
And the next gentleman along the line, you've been here, what, a little bit longer, I'd say?
Oh, around about 15 years.
15 years, the same sort of thing. Has it every morning, do you find that, you know, that it is something that you do as part of your natural first thing in the morning thing?
Yes, well, I find if I leave it off at all, that I feel lousy all day. If I have a swim in the morning, and I feel good and fresh and really fit for the day's work.
And another regular gentleman here on the pool side. Good morning.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fit and well, but you look even fitter than me. I'm all done up in my in my woolies.
That's only a case of becoming used to it.
Yes, I think this is the same thing with practically everything, isn't it? Well, having spent a couple of hours with the whales, the boys who swim regularly early morning at North Wollongong, if they can do it, I reckon I can as well.
Boy, news has changed. So that is Win News for Tuesday the 7th of April.
To view some of our reports, visit the Win News Illawarra Facebook page.
We'll leave you with pictures from 8-year-old Aidan Campbell's latest exhibition at the Project Contemporary Art Space in Wollongong. Good night.
Good night.
This has been a Win News presentation from Win, Australia's #1 regional television network.